Alright, this is part 2 of replacing the exhaust on a Catalina 27. There's the sailboat. No, 27. It's a good boat. So this is what I built today with the replacement parts that I bought. It's the exact same dimensions as the previous one. One thing you might want to look into if you're going to do this yourself is on this pipe that goes out to out the back of the transom. This is the raw water injection. This is all hot dry. This is where the water gets pumped in and the exhaust from the muffler pushes it out, forces it out. You can buy I believe it's from Moyer Marine, but you can buy a nipple here that has an injection port welded in 45 degrees. So what you would have is the water coming in from an angle and going out the back instead of dumping right straight in. And I probably will switch it out, but for the meantime I'm just going to set it up the same way they did. It works for now, but I'll get it replaced. All this is 1 1/4. The flange that connects to the back of the exhaust manifold is 1 1/4 thread. Should be on, I believe, on most atomic 4 engines. That's what pops out. And the nice thing about this is I put a union in, and a union will allow you to get a tight seal between these threads in the flange and also on this end, and you can align it and then just tighten down the union here once it's aligned, and you'll have a really tight fit in the very early stages of your exhaust. If you don't use a union, you may have to sacrifice to get it to align properly. You may have to sacrifice rolling it back a couple of threads in order to get the whole thing to align. So this is actually a really nice piece of the exhaust. And that's it. This wasn't too much trouble. I had to go to a specialty plumbing store to get all these parts. Couldn't find them at Lowe's or Home Depot. They had black pipe, but it was expensive, and they didn't have all the components I needed. And they've dug up this stainless steel barb, and the old one was plastic, so this will be better. It's a bit long. We'll see how it fits. I might be able to cut it down with a hacksaw if need be. And outside of that, it's going to get installed. I'm going to start with the flange, and they do sell gaskets for it, but I'll be using RTV, red RTV. It's made for connections to the exhaust manifold. I'll show you what it looks like here. And it goes up to, let's see, 650 degrees for exhaust manifold gaskets. And then I bought a couple of $7 pipe wrenches from Harbor Freight. Not my first choice in tools, but I'm never going to use these again. I won't say that. It is a Catalina 27. So outside of that, what I'll do is I'm going to clean up the surface on this part. And you put a layer of RTV on, coat around, go around the bolt holes as well. You put it in place until you screw it down until the sealant starts to come out of the edges. You let it sit for an hour, and then you crank down on it. So I'm going to get started with that. And then once the full cure is 24 hours, I'm probably just going to let it sit before I continue. And then tomorrow I will throw the rest of the exhaust on and hook it up. And also they didn't have 9-inch rods, so I had to jerry rig something here, but it kind of worked out nice. This is supposed to be a 9-inch rod as well, but it worked out because the bracket that supports most of the weight of the exhaust actually lines up perfectly right with this coupling. So I don't know how I'm going to do it, whether I'm going to get someone to weld it in or if I'm just going to get some flat bar and try and mangle it into position to kind of, you know, grab the underside of it and hold it in place. Haven't decided on that, and that's really it. That's ended up costing $68 for all this. Another, $14 for pipe wrenches, $4 for RTV, but it beats $225 buying it from a marine store. And let's see, the only thing I have left to do is that once it's in place, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it with fiberglass wrap to keep the temperatures in the pipe rather than emanating into the engine room or the cabin. So it'll cut the temperature coming off these pipes by about 50 degrees. Plus, you won't burn yourself if you come into contact with it. So that's really it. That's all I got.